Welcome to the Monday, April 17th, 2023 board meeting. Please stand for a moment of silence, followed by pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point, we will adopt the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to adopt the agenda.
We have a motion by Ms. Knight, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Hagan.
You need to do your amendment.
You got an
first.
amendment to the agenda.
Oh. All right.
That contract addendum.
That's right. We do have an amendment to the agenda tonight. It's the federal construction project contract addendum. We'll put that under items of individual consideration, 5.4. And you'll have the information in front of you there. All right, now we will adopt the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move to accept the agenda.
We have a motion by Ms. Knight, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Hagan, all in favor? Becky, 5-0. Public comment?
We're going to do the presentation.
Presentation.
You got a presentation first.
We have a presentation regarding the bridge program. Mr. White?
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
I am Patrick White. I am the proud principal of the Bridge Alternative Program here in Madison County. I have a few guests with me tonight. Mr. Jaden Johnson, one of our students. We have Ms. Yolanda Brinson, the mother of Jaden. And we have Mr. Chris Neal, who's our lead teacher at the Bridge Program. It is my honor to stand before you tonight to tell you about the good things that are happening at the Bridge Alternative Program this year. Up to this year, I was a teacher and assistant principal at James Madison Preparatory for 8 years. So I've had the pleasure of meeting most of you, either through your students and your children or your grandchildren. The way I came about this position was nothing more than miraculous. Saw it a position. I actually was going to walk away from education after 30 years in the trenches. But something happened, something came up, and the position came available. And I reached out, I applied for it, and through some miracles, I'm standing before you tonight, the proud principal of the Bridge Alternative Program. When I was hired, the first thing I did was brought out my coach mentality. As Coach Carroll can attest, anytime you go into a new program, the first thing you want to do is that you want to change the culture. You have to change how people perceive processes and how people perceive the building itself. So the first thing that I did is probably the easiest thing that you can do when you turn a program around is that you update the facilities. You change the way people look at a building. I can tell you that when I walked into the Bridge Program, but my wife and I spent many days, many weekends working on the program. We painted rooms, we mopped and waxed floors and cleaned bathrooms and put curtains up and painted cubicles and scrubbed graffiti for hours. That's the easy part. Going in and changing the way something looks and the way something feels. The next process is I'm reminded by a quote by George Washington Carver, who said, "Where there is no vision, there will be no hope." The county had a way of getting kids into the alternative program, but they had no way of getting those kids out of the program. So our goal was to sit there and figure out, how can we get a kid out of the Bridge Program back into their home school? And in some cases, how can we get them in the right cohort? How can we change years of students not doing well academically or behaviorally, and how can we change that system? The first thing that we did was that we created a safe environment for our students. In order to create this form of environment, I insisted with my staff that we build real relationships with our students, but not only with our students, but with their parents. We let them know that they're always going to be respected, regardless of how they may be in that one particular moment of time for their life. We're never going to raise our voices at them. We'll talk to them as young adults, and we'll face their issues together head on. And through that process itself, it builds resilience with them, but it also builds a form of trust. Secondly, we insist that we speak truths to everything to them. Most of our students don't trust adults easily, much less teachers. We're completely honest with them, even when those conversations are hard to have with our students. And finally, we use a key word, and it's called responsibility. The process starts when we have intake meetings with our parents and our students. In that intake meeting, we talk to them together so that everybody's on the same page, and we're completely transparent with our expectations as well as the requirements of the Bridge program. We assess students on behaviors, academics. They have to agree to a contract, whether it be a behavior contract or an academic contract. They have weekly counseling needs, and we have building rules that they must follow. And I assure both the students and the parents that if a student can follow that contract and complete all the requirements that we set forth with them, that I will fight for them when the time comes to get them out of the building. Our contracts focus on three main areas. That's academics, attendance, and behavior. Our attendance process is very simple. If I can get you into school, get you involved with your academics, set goals, reasonable goals, attainable goals, achievable goals, then behavior is going to take care of itself. We have to change the academic mindset of our students. We start that by getting rid of that bad reputation, that Excel concept, because that's where the bad kids are. They are out of control. We let our students know they are valued, they are treated with respect, we're completely honest, and we have hard conversations daily and weekly. We brought in an academically minded, a responsibility-driven academic mindset. I had to make sure I get that right. I learned that concept from my mentor teacher back in 1987, one of my very first years at Valdosta High School. Students are responsible for their academics. We as teachers are not responsible for how they work on their academics. We let them know that they're in charge. No one else is in charge of their academics. We give them everything they're going to need to be successful, but ultimately it's up to them. They have to change their mindset. They have to change what they're willing to do. One of the few slogans that I use at the Bridge all the time, and Mr. Neal can attest to this, and even Jaden can attest to this, is that I tell my students, the only way out of here, the only way out of the Bridge program is through your academics. We're not going to try to attempt to move you back to a homeschool if academically you're not ready to go. Our goal is to change it, starting with the academics, and bring it forth from there. To address the behavior component of our program, we place our students under very strict movements and very demanding consequences. Mr. Neal and I meet each student every morning at the door. There's not a day that goes by that one of us is not there to greet our students, and we do that to gauge their attitudes, we gauge their emotions, and then we start talking from that moment on. Mr. Neal is famous for doing what they say, doing too much. because he's always talking to them. He's always in them. He's always bringing them out. He'll have conferences with one. He'll have conferences with two. The entire classroom, the entire school. That's not unusual. But again, what we're doing is changing mindsets. And that's how it has to start, especially for our students. We make counseling a very important part of their week. And when we say counselor, we're not talking about just necessarily licensed clinical counselors. Mr. Neal counsels, I counsel, and we talk to our students. We feel it's important because it builds that relationship that is so much needed for these kids that we have. We talk with our parents, and this is a huge proponent of mine. I do this all the time. What I think is truly important is that when things go well, we let them know. Because most of our parents have only gotten the calls when something bad happens. So we constantly call our parents. We let them know when things go well, when their student is doing something good. But we also have to have those other uncomfortable phone calls. But we want the parents to know that we're working with them as much as we possibly can. Now, I'm just going to ask Jade and his mom if y'all want to come forward to speak. I know Jaden wants to say that. I'm not sure if Ms. Brinson does or not.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to take a little bit of y'all time to talk about how I rebelled from the Madison County Bridge program. Many people see it as a place for students with behavioral issues, but I see it as a chance to excel introspectively and academically. With help from mentors such as Mr. White and Mr. Neal, who work to give the Bridge program a better reputation, I have achieved goals that I had not knew I were capable of. As of now, I have attained 4.5 high school credits. Though I am not officially a 9th grader, I'll be entering high school with 4.5 full credits. I've also noticed adjustments to my behavior. Every now and then, I may slip up and make a mistake, but overall, I have benefited from being in the Madison County Bridge program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And on that note, I will say a thank you to Mr. White, Mr. Neal, and all the staff out there, as well as the board for hearing us out today. Ms. Joseph, most definitely. I thought it was a dead end for Jaden when he ended up at the Excel. But it actually gave me more hope when Mr. White came aboard. It gave me hope in the sense that, yes, these children are placed out here for behavioral reasons. However, they're not being held out there necessarily for those behavioral reasons once they meet that aptitude that he has already set forth for them. And that came along with him bringing the parents in prior to school, sitting us down. This is what we are expecting. This right here, which I call the grid, the Holy Bible, this wasn't in place prior to Mr. White. If it was, I didn't see it. I wasn't given a copy. However, once he became on board, it's more not punishing the child anymore for their actions, but teaching that child holistically that their actions have consequences, but those consequences don't have to bog you down, hold you down, and keep you with a reputation of he's a bad child. He's not fit for society, some may speak, because there is that school to prison pipeline that there's so many studies of out there. But I just want to say that I'm thankful and I'm grateful for the Excel. I'm sorry for the Madison Bridges program.
That's what everybody
Because
still call it.
bridge is to get you from one point to the other. And I want this to be for him, my son Jaden Johnson, to be what it's made for. Get from point A to point B successfully. And I think with Mr. White at the helm of the Bridges program now, I think it's headed in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. My wife always tells me I have a hard time accepting compliments, and I'm very honored for what they're about to say. So we haven't always been successful in everything. We do lose our battles. But just to give you some hard data, I know Ms. Joseph wants me to keep this short. So I've only got 7 pages of data. I'm just kidding. So again, we concentrate on 3 main areas: attendance, behavior, and academics. Attendance, we've had a total of 41 total students at the Bridge program assigned throughout the year. Of the 41 students, we only have 3 that are considered what we call truant worthy. Our students average about 45 days absence per 9 weeks, which is a huge increase from where these students are. The first quarter of the school year, we averaged 78% attendance per day. The second quarter, we went to 89% attendance per day. The third quarter, we went to 93% attendance a day. And right now, to date, we're at 92% attendance. Keep in mind, these are students who find reasons not to come. Now they're finding reasons to come. For our behavior, the first quarter, I wrote a total of 44 referrals. That averaged 3.27 days of out-of-school suspension per incident. Of the 44 referrals, 14 were repeat offenders. The second quarter, I wrote 15 referrals. That averaged 5.26 days of OSS per incident. Of the 15 referrals, only 3 were repeat offenders. The third quarter, we wrote 14 total referrals. That averaged 4.12 days of OSS per incident. Of the 14 referrals, 3 were repeat offenders. To date, in the fourth quarter, we've written 7. All of them have been repeat offenders. They're the same student, same things that we're still working on an everyday basis. I say all of that, and it sounds somewhat kind of counterintuitive or counterconstructive what we're trying to accomplish. But these are students, if you look at their disciplinary histories, they're probably in the ballpark of around 50% of all referrals in the entire district that we have. We're doing good things. Things are changing slowly but surely. And again, we're winning the battle, but we are losing some as well. And academically is probably the most important data that I can give to you tonight. Because everybody knows that academic success is the key figure for effectiveness of schools. We all worry about school grades. We all worry about how a student performs on standardized testing. Our class setup is much different than the high school or the other schools. Our students, we have found out through trial and error that our students do better when they can concentrate on one class at a time before we give them another one. The first quarter of the students that we had, 43 classes were completed by these students. In the second quarter, 64 classes were completed by our students. But most importantly, at the close of the second quarter, 7 students have moved into their current grade. They were no longer behind. We promoted 3 to the high school, and we graduated 1. So far in the second semester, we have completed 130 academic classes. We have moved 9 students into their correct grade. 2 students have actually moved 1 grade ahead, and we have 1 on track to graduate in May. These are students who wouldn't be there if they didn't really believe in what we were trying to accomplish and did what they needed to do. So to summarize it, we've completed 233 academic courses this school year. 15 students have either moved on to grade level or exceeded grade level, and 2 are on track to graduate, or 1 did graduate and 1 is on track to graduate in May. But another program that we've started at Bridge, other than the academics, and that's all the good things that are happening, we've created what we call the community education program. Okay? This program was set up to provide a level of education for students who struggle with traditional classroom settings. There are two ways that a student can get into the community education process. One is through ESC placement. Those students are required to meet with the ESC support staff on a weekly basis. And then we have bridge students who can't adhere to standard classroom settings. We place them into this community education program. This program is also set up for students who have not been successful at bridge. We've taken all the good lessons of COVID-19 and how to make students successful with an online platform with limited contact with teachers and staff. We took all the good parts and we created this program. It puts responsibility back onto the student and the parents. It's not a long-term fix. We essentially only put a student in community education for a 9-week period before they're reevaluated. We base it on academic, how well they've done outside of the building academically, and we have these parent conferences with the student before we can bring them back. We currently have 5 students on community education. They've completed 14 total classes. All but one has completed coursework. And I do have a weekly attendance of 3 of those 6 that come into the building every week to meet with me so that we can go through their academics. That's it. That's all I've got. Any questions?
I've got one. The community education program.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
I'm thinking way back years in the past where children did go to work in the community. Is this what you're talking about, or?
So
What is-
I do have some older students who are in the community education program who do work during the day, and they meet with me at night.
Okay.
Almost like an adult education process. They still have their courses online through our online format, and I'm there to help them academically, however they need it.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Well,
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. You know, everything to me is about relationships, and it seems to me like you all are building that relationship out there with those kids. I'm gonna tell you what, you can't fool them. Kids know when you care about them and when you don't care about them.
That's absolutely true.
They know.
That's true.
You know, just because you get on to them or hold them accountable, that don't mean you don't care about them. That means
That's
you
it.
do care about them.
Exactly
So
right.
what y'all doing is really, really good. I've had opportunity since my shoulder been hurt, watch TV. I watched the Freedom Riders the other day, and
Yeah.
it's basically the same thing. And that teacher went in and made a big difference because they knew that they could count on it.
Relationships are a big thing for us. It is the foundation of what we do.
That's right.
Without a relationship with our students, we're not going to get anything out of them.
That's in all of them now.
Yeah,
I mean, that goes from kindergarten to,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate. We have. I mean, and it's a tireless effort. It is.
Oh, yeah.
We work every single day. We'll treat tomorrow like we did the very first day of school. That's just, I mean, it's a very intense atmosphere, as you can imagine, but it's one that it's a labor of love. And we're really honored to have done that.
we appreciate you
Well,
doing that.
congratulations on the improvements that you've made. But that community education program, I need to know more about that. So
Okay,
if you don't mind, when you get some time.
absolutely. Because it has been successful, but it's not successful for everyone.
Of course, one shoe doesn't fit everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
One
you.
other thing I'd like to say, thank you, Mr. White, for the work that you're doing out there and for your dedication, but I need to emphasize, when we first established Excel, we would think of it as a detention place, but we need to understand that for Bridge, kids are out there for behavior as well as academics. Everybody is out there at Bridge is not because of behavior. Some of them behind academically.
And that's, and again,
And there
that's,
should be a distinction between those two, that the whole community should know.
yeah, and that's why we're trying to get rid of that stigma of what we call Excel. We try to erase every part of what we call Excel. That's why we call it the Bridge program, because the Bridge is nothing more than just a
And
placement to get over an obstacle.
Excuse me. Here's the thing now, you know, the school is not Excel anymore, it's named Bridged. But the community doesn't know why it was changed to Bridge
Right.
from Excel. So, the same old whatever, its connotation is still there.
Absolutely. And we're gonna work toward getting rid of that.
So, community, parents, and everyone, one should know why it's called Bridge now and not Excel,
Right,
named.
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. White. We appreciate you coming tonight and appreciate all that you do each and every day. Thank you. Public comment, Ms. Jones?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
One thing I want to see, everybody smile. Let's smile, and you look beautiful.
Why, thank you.
I'm here because we have certain initiatives in Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, and we try to see what the community need or how we can collaborate with different organizations and different clubs. And we thought that it was a young lady who written a book. Would you bring me the book, please? Thank you. And the book is a children's book, and a book called Morris. And this is the second series. And Marva Boatman is from Madison County.
Class of 1973.
Huh?
Class of 1973.
Class of 1973. And we're here, New Omega Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha would like to place this book in the school library so that the children can have an opportunity to know about Mars. I don't think, and I don't know because I'm not a child and I'm not a parent, but I don't believe that we discuss Mars like we used to do when I was a child. And so that's what we're trying to motivate. And if we could get the schools and get the teachers and get the children to talk about Mars, then it will extend into the community, the homes, and the government. Because everybody is liking Mars at this time. The old Mars that we were taught. And I would like to know, would you all approve this book to be placed in the library in Madison County?
Madam Chair, may I answer that? Okay. Thank you. Ms. Jones did share a copy of that book with me, but if y'all recall the policies that you approved a couple of meetings back, all books that goes into the library has to go through an approval process. Right now, we're in the process of getting that committee together, and they will look through that book, and they will let you know whether it meets the requirements set forth by the legislator, whether we can place that book in the library or not. I think it's a very great book, but that's not my decision, it's not my thoughts, my feelings. We have to abide by the law. But I do appreciate her thinking well of us to bring that book to us.
Well, Ms. Jones, can you leave the book with the superintendent so that she can present it to that body when that body is made up so that they will have the book on hand?
I already have the book in the book.
Okay, well, you did let us know, so thank you.
I just got the book.
Okay, well, you didn't say it.
Okay, we, Well, Carter, what time will we know? Because you know, with sororities and things, it's a time schedule that we have, since this is part of one of our initiatives.
I'm trying to get that group together this week.
Okay. Well, thank you all.
Yes, ma'am.
And Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, appreciate you letting us serve you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jones, and I look forward to reading the book. So,
I do too, well,
And this is Soror.
th-
yeah, I know.
This is one of my, and it's Higgins. They're all my sisters.
But thank you, and I will
Thank
keep
you.
you informed of the progress of how far we are along with that.
Okay, thank you. And remember, no matter what the task is and how hard the task is, Mama say always smile because someone needs your smile, because you're not the only one hurting.
that's right.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Jones.
Ms. Jones.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
4 point,
Would you like for each one of us board members to have a copy of that book? Do we have enough to give each one
I
of us?
would pay for one if they have one
Ms.
to
Jones?
sell.
Ms. Jones? Are those books selling? Do we have a copy for, enough copies for each board member to get one? And are we selling those books?
No, you have to order from Amazon.
okay, you can get it from Amazon.
Okay.
Barbara Boatman.
Okay.
But we can get you that, the information.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Consent agenda items. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I move to approve the consent agenda items.
We have a motion by Mr. Carroll, second.
I second.
Second by Ms. Knight. Any discussion? All those in favor? Becky, 5-0. 5.0, items for individual consideration. 5.1, personnel changes. Mr. Killingsworth?
Good evening. This evening, we have two non-instructional employee recommendations for you. One is Ms. McDonald. That basically is just an adjustment on her starting time. And Mr. Graham is requesting to go from full-time to part-time as far as hires. He's a full-time now. And then we have three that have resigned. One of them is Ms. Walker with mental health. And then we have Ms. Robinson and Irvine, one testing coordinator, one paraprofessional that would be resigning at this time. And I have one sub-bus driver slash monitor, Mr. Charles DeLauder, that we would like to ask that you approve as well. That's all the recommendations I have under that at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Killingsworth.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a motion to approve the personnel changes?
I move to approve the personnel changes.
We have a motion by Ms. Thompson, second.
A second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Any discussion? If you approve, raise your hand, please. Becky, 5-0. 5.2, employee recommendations. Mr. Killingsworth?
Yes, ma'am. Before you, y'all have basically 2.5 pages of employees. These are instructional employees that we're recommending for next year at this time. I envision that we will have a few more instructional that I will need to come before you, that dealing with some new legislation that has come out. When we have better guidance as to the particulars on that, I envision probably 5 to 7 more names will be coming on that, which will help us to where we don't have as many spots that we will need to replace for this next coming school year. And I will also, probably next board meeting, have the non-instructional personnel that I will bring before you.
Thank you, Mr. Killingsworth. Do we have a motion to approve the employee recommendations?
Madam Chair, I move to accept the,
Can I say,
Second.
Oh, yeah, go.
could I say one last thing? I'm
Go-
sorry.
Go ahead.
On this list of names for our employees, teachers that we're recommending, remember, these are being recommended for the district. It is not for any particular school site. They may be moved at the needs based on their certification and the needs at various schools. I just wanted to make sure that when we do that, it's for employment with the district, not necessarily a particular site.
Right, well, thank you for clarifying that.
May I call him?
Yes.
That's not,
Okay, okay. Okay, okay,
that one's not on what they have.
okay.
Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Let's begin, okay, again. Do we have a motion to approve the employee recommendations?
Madam Chair, I move to accept the employee recommendations as listed.
We have a motion by Ms. Knight, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Hagan. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Becky, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Killingsworth. 5.3, Engineered Cooling Services, Ms. Rainick.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, as you know, we are addressing the audit findings that we have, and one of our pieces of corrective action is that they are going to rework the language of the contracts that we had to do the air conditioning units. Once the board reviews that and approves that, then the engineering company will then move forward in getting us the wage determinations. There have been several pieces to this corrective action, but this is a primary piece so we can move forward to get the wage determinations so that we can address both the Auditor General's office and the Department of Education, who contacted me today, which brings about the addendum. So I don't know if you want to take all of this as one piece or if you want to talk about the contracts and then talk about the addendum.
Let me ask you a question. I've read this. How many changes from this that was in the original?
This did not exist.
Okay, this one just came.
This is new.
Okay,
yeah.
so it's different from the one that was in there with
Yes.
wages and all that stuff?
Yes, yes. This is something that we are proposing to add on to, as an addendum to any contract that involves using federal dollars to spend for construction, renovation, repairs, installations. This way, we have it in writing with the company that we have met all of the Code of Federal Regulation requirements and the Davis-Bacon clauses. Okay?
So
The
that
wage-
makes us compliant?
Pardon me?
You know, all the stuff that they want?
Pardon me?
For what the
That'll make
current
it
stuff
compliant
is.
with everything that-
Well, we're hoping so. We're hoping so. We have to present it to the auditor's office and the department, and they have to make a decision. If they find us compliant, we will still get a finding because we didn't do what we should have done at the beginning, but we will be relieved of the question costs.
Okay.
So that, right now, is my primary goal, to get that off the table.
Right.
So this is one piece, and the contracts that you got for the 9 other revised clauses is another piece. When they get that, then they'll do the wage determination, which should be the third piece. After we pull all that together and address it with both entities, we're hoping that we can at least get the question costs off the table.
Thank you, Ms. Rainick. We'll do the addendum next, that's 5.4, so let's just, okay. Do we have a motion to approve the engineered cooling services?
I move to approve the engineered cooling services.
We have a motion by Mr. Carroll, second.
A second.
Second by Ms. Thompson. Any questions or discussion?
Yes, I just want to verify, Mr. Reeves, you've reviewed this contract?
I've reviewed it. It looks fine to me. The actual legal requirements on the contract really weren't at issue. What was at issue was,
With the-
did we have all of those addendums right?
Right.
And that's really an auditor question. If the auditor's good with it, I'm good with it.
And Mr. Reeves does review our contracts.
I'm just making sure.
Yes.
I'm allowed to
No.
ask.
Any more discussion?
No?
All those in favor, raise your hand. Becky, 5-0. Okay, 5.4, Madison County School Board Federal Construction Project Contract Addendum.
That's the second part of it.
That's the
That's
second
another
part.
piece of the corrective action that will be attached to any new contracts that we do for construction, renovation, installation.
Right. Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the federal construction project contract addendum?
I move to approve the federal construction project contract addendum.
We have a motion by Ms. Thompson, second.
I second.
Second by Ms. Knight. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am. Here's the only discussion that I have now. This was just placed on the table this afternoon. I usually don't approve anything that I have not read because that means that you all are making the decisions, not the board. So if you would please in the future, and this is important that I know, but if you would please in the future, get it to us so that I won't have to make this this statement again and vote against it because I have not read it, so I don't know what's in it. And I shouldn't approve anything that I've not read and not know what's in it.
We apologize for getting it to you at this late hour. However, today we got the notice from the department that they're looking for that in order to relieve the charges. So that's why we pulled it in front of you, and we apologize to that. The content of that is everything that's in the actual Davis-Bacon law that's required. So another attorney, our labor attorney, is the one who created that contract.
Okay.
Lindy.
That's why I was asking, because I guess, I read everything that was in there, and I was just wondering if it was just something
It
concerning
complements.
all that, and, okay,
It complements it.
okay.
Any more questions or discussion?
I was just gonna say that it was on our email this morning, so I did,
Okay.
I know you may
Well,
not.
see, I can't do an email or anything else in 1 or 2 days, a contract like this.
Yes, ma'am.
And
but I
so
was-
that's me, you can do it.
Yeah.
I can't.
Right.
All those in favor, raise your hand. Becky, 5-0.
I also have some documents in front of you.
Yes.
I have gotten a couple of requests from board members about how the schools stack up for each school, for costs per school, per student, per FTE. And what you're seeing right there in the first page, it starts with the MCHS in the top corner. That starts with Madison County High School, Central, and the second page goes into the rest of the schools. That's showing you a breakout over 3 years of what the costs per students are. That comes directly off of reports that we get from the Department of Education. It comes out of our MIS department. All I did was translate it into a way that you could look at it all against each school, against each year. So you're going to be seeing it's comparing the costs of the 2019-20, 2020-21, and 2021-22 costs per FTE per school. And you can see how it's steadily going up. It's steadily going up compared to what the district is paying per FTE and what the state is paying per FTE. It's continuing to go up for all three of us. So if you look at the first one, you'll see the total school cost. If you look at Madison County High School in 1920 per FTE, $8,465. But the district average was $81.78, but the state average was $91.19. And you take that across to year 2, 2021, you're seeing it went from $8,400 to $9,800. Where the state went to $9,700, and in the third year, you're seeing it goes to $11,000, which part of that is the federal money that's been infused. And then at the state is at $10,300. So that is an information for the board members that were asking me about this. I want to make sure all of you got it. Now, the lady who had the book, what'd she say? Smile. Okay, this is my smiley face as I get ready to present the not-so-smiley news. Okay? The not-so-smiley news is the third page in this document where you're going to see what I have done is I have laid out, we just got our fourth calculation. So I have laid out the fourth calculation and all the lines in it into one document so you could look at it all at once instead of all those pages. And I have laid it against what, as of today, as of this afternoon, is still on the House agenda and the Senate's
That's
agenda.
this morning.
As of this morning, yes, as of this morning, it was still current.
Yep.
Now, you will notice the highlighted green area. The highlighted green area is where the state anticipates that we are going to be raising the tax rate that's going to help us cover these losses. But these, I'm going to, on the next page, show you what the loss of the categoricals really mean to us right now. So the last page you have, if you look at the fourth calculation, that takes just the categoricals out, and it tells you what we have at the state level, what it looks like at the district level, and then if the House changes it as they propose, that's what it looks like at the House level. The bottom line of this is right near the bottom where it says the percentage of the total FTE that the state is cutting out. Now here's where it's a little confusing. The state cuts out, or the House, I'm sorry, the House is proposing to cut 12.72% of the money out of the categoricals. But they're also proposing to put 16.58% back in various ways. The problem with that is for smaller districts like Madison County, where they cut it by 12.72, but impacts us by 21.34%. So if we lose 21.34%, and then we put back 16.5%, we are still behind the 8 ball at about 8% below. Now, this is just the House proposal. We don't know how it's going to end up. But just as of today, I wanted to kind of run that by you. I did, we were at the FISBIT meeting last week, and Miss Gibson was with us the whole time, and we got lots more news. One of the things we got was the proposal that's in front of the legislature now about the Florida retirement system going up 5.72%.
Yes.
Now, what that means to the district is about another $800,000 liability. So just get ready, because this is my sad face. This is where I'm waiting for the decisions to be made so we can really talk about where we are going to be in the budgetary process. And I think that we have a lot of challenges coming up in this next budget year. We need to be very cognizant about all of those. So,
Yeah, we got to ante up some more money.
pardon me?
We got to ante up some more money.
Yeah, it's really fortunate that the district is pretty good shape with the fund balance right now.
I'm happy that the retirement has gone up. But I'm just,
For some of us old timers, it might be a good thing, right?
And then they're proposing something for the insurance. What is it, $7.50 more?
Yeah, everything is going up. Everything is
Instead of
going up.
$25,
The money's going down.
$32.50.
And life goes on.
Yes.
And we smile.
With a smile. Any questions? If you have questions specific to this, you know where you can find me. Behind a spreadsheet.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you, Ms.
Rainey.
Rainey.
Appreciate you. Mrs. Joseph?
Okay, couple of things, I got several things I need to talk about. First thing, in front of you, you had a letter from Melinda Ritchie. It's that time again for us to do the senior walk, and she's asking for donations. So get in contact with her if you would like to do a donation for the senior walk. You had something else in there about the flag, American flag sponsorship. Fill that out, get it back to the appropriate person if you wish. Couple of dates that I need to remind you about. We were scheduled for tomorrow, the 18th, for a master board training. We've got a lot of meetings going on, and so we have rescheduled the master board training till April 26th from 12 to 4. You should have received an invite. The location will be the same place,
From what time?
12 to 4. That's on April 26th.
Okay, Madam Superintendent, Attorney Reeves, that thing Wednesday night,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what time?
That's at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.? Okay.
The April 19th at 6 p.m. at the courthouse, we have a joint meeting with the county commissioners. Also, Ms. Bishop she's given everyone a copy of that printout. She's even given it to you, it's in front of you tonight.
Well, we emailed it out last week, and then it's included on your board docs
They
as
sent
well.
us some,
Mm-hmm.
they sent me some stuff too.
Okay. You want to finish talking about that? Because I have several other things I need to talk about.
Either way, just the only thing I would say is, you've got a memo, you've got several proposals there. This, take a look at that beforehand if you can. I think it's going to make everything a lot more meaningful, that you do. But this is intended to be kind of an opening session. Mr. Spitzer's going to be there. He's got a PowerPoint. He's going to kind of give you an idea on how things work and how we do things. But and what we can do, some of the limitations in the data, and and how they configure things.
Will this be one of the first of many meetings?
Well, I mean, theoretically, if y'all all decided the perfect plan had been presented, we don't have to have another meeting. Now, I think that's very unlikely. I think y'all are going to want to have
Of course.
several meetings, but you don't have to have and my point is, legally, you're not required to have a certain number of meetings. I think practically, you're going to end up having, this meeting and at least a couple more, I would think.
Okay, a couple other dates to be mindful of. On April 20th, that's Thursday, they're having the regional FSBA meeting in Chipley. I have reserved a van for you. I think y'all need to get together and decide what time you're going and all that.
What time is that meeting, Ms. Joseph?
I can't tell you that, okay?
It's 1 to 4.
I think it's 1 to 4, yeah.
1 to 4?
That's Central Time,
That's, yeah, their time there.
okay?
So, board members, who's gonna drive that van?
She'll get us there quick.
Oh, you gonna drive the van? So you send me all the information I need?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
A couple of other dates I need to talk about. I'm going to have a parent meeting on 4/27. That's Thursday of next week. And I just need to talk to some parents about ending the school on a positive note. And I feel that I need to, and I just want to have a forum for the parents to talk. Okay, and something that a couple of you have asked me about, I've got two things.
That parent meeting though, what time is that?
That's at 6 o'clock on Thursday, 4/27. It's gonna be in the Madison County Central School Gym.
PM, okay.
Okay, do I need to advertise that in case more than one board meeting member attend?
It would probably be a good idea, yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In light, send them all down. In light of the things that's been going on in our district, I needed you to know, put it on paper, some safety measures that we have in place for our district, and that's the sheet that's going down now. And that's the part that I can share. And Mr. Williams, he can answer that if you have any questions about things that's on there. I'll give you a few minutes to read that. That's the sheet about the safety measures that we have in place in the district. That's what I shared with you. And we're still working, continuing improving this. This is what actually we have in place. We got plans for other things, but we're not quite there yet. But we're not satisfied. We are still working on it. Is this the information you shared with the newspaper person? Okay. I didn't read the article, but Mr. Patrick at the newspaper, he did something, did an article about the safety measures that we have in class. The next thing I'm sending you down, we've been talking about,
Thank you.
eligibility requirement for guardians for Madison County checklist. Okay, and what I've done, you want a copy of this?
Here, I get it. Here, let me have some.
We don't have this in policy yet, but we are in the process of putting it in policy. We have in procedures, this is how we go about getting a guardian, a person to be a guardian in our district. Right now, we presently have a guardian class, but this is the procedure that we're using right now.
So who's approving all this? It says it's
This was already in place.
Oh, this is out,
Was
okay, because I'm asking, the last 4 years, I was not on the board. So I
Okay.
need these questions answered, please. So, it say to be approved to enter the training, all the above boxes must be checked.
The last board we had said they should not be a classroom teacher. Okay, who says it has, the procedure says it has to be approved by, the names have to be approved by board members, the sheriff, and the superintendent.
Just a superintendent.
Superintendent and sheriff.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be approved by the board. Okay,
I wouldn't think so.
But the
but
board,
that's
So
something that
wait
Madison
a minute,
County
but the
put
chair,
in.
let me tell y'all what the chair does. The chair just presides over meetings. The chair does not vote. So you're saying as a courtesy, I don't understand as a courtesy, the duties and responsibilities of the chair is to preside over meetings and be the spokesperson, not to vote for a board member. Mr. Reeves, you're our attorney. And it's list the job, the duties and responsibilities of the chairperson.
I think that's exactly right. I didn't hear somebody say, though, the chair was voting for people. I'm sorry.
Well, that's just what they said. And as a courtesy, the board would vote on it, but they're saying the superintendent and the chair would vote on it. And as a courtesy, the board, no.
No, they said the sheriff, not the chair.
the
But-
sheriff.
Okay, but you did say the chair.
I don't think so.
You didn't say the chair. Okay.
No, the last
No,
board,
you didn't say it.
what they were considering, because I remember this conversation with the last board, if we bring it up to the board, then it's it's in the sunshine and all that, and it becomes a public record. And this is talking about just doing the training, and so that last board said that it would be okay if the sheriff, the superintendent, and, was that it?
No.
Yeah, approved it to start the training. That was the point.
Okay, well, I didn't get that information.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So it doesn't.
I don't know how everybody else got it. I didn't get it. I've been getting all the information.
This is not brought up as a group of names before the board. This
Right.
is something that's
But I'm saying
individually
everybody talking
placed to.
intelligent about it, except me. So, I mean, how everybody else got it and I don't have it? I don't know a thing about it, and I hear everybody yesing and agreeing with it, and talking about it, making comments about it. That's all I got to say.
Only reason I know about it is I was on the board when they done it, back when they done it back. We didn't do it when we
But I'm
discussed.
just
That's all.
saying right now, there's all this new information,
And there's-
not all that other old board
And there's
information.
nothing wrong with asking questions either, you know.
Oh, but I know that.
You know, that's, hey,
I know that.
Mr. Reeves,
Ma'am,
could we revisit the eligibility requirements? as a board?
absolutely. Absolutely. Now, with, the one thing though, when we go to look at this, the Guardian program is, set up by statute.
Absolutely.
And so we gotta, and they changed those statutes a
I
lot.
I was gonna say, I've reviewed the worksheet on that recently, so I have a copy of that.
So that would be absolutely appropriate for this
Okay.
board to look at that, but just remember, we're constrained by what's in the
Right,
statute.
right. Well, I know the statute doesn't say that we can't have a classroom teacher.
It,
That's a Madison County thing.
Right,
that's right.
right.
So that is up to this board. Y'all can
Exactly.
decide how you-
So this is what I'm saying is, this was done by the previous board.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all that I was asking.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I'm saying that I was not on the board when this was done. So I'm asking questions about it. It looks fine to me. But I didn't know if it was done lately or when I was not on the board.
No, I was telling you what was already in place because she had been questioning the Guardian program. And before you started the discussion, I wanted you to know what was in place.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so this is what's in place.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it when it was presented.
I personally would like to ask that we revisit this, and it doesn't have to be tonight, but I know that the legislation always also has some things coming down where we can have veterans teaching, and so I don't want to limit and say that we can't have any classroom teacher if they are seen fit and eligible, and obviously they have to go through a psychiatric evaluation and extensive training. I've spoken with the sheriff, and I know that the guardians go through more extensive training than the deputies that they have on the road, so they are very heavily trained. So I would like to revisit this as, just me personally.
So we have classroom teachers who wants to do this?
I have talked to a few that would feel comfortable doing
Well, I
that.
sure hope they don't have a gun and pull that gun out in that classroom and shoot up the children when they get mad.
They have to be responsible for
They
it.
would absolutely.
But you have all these
'Cause, I mean, we
entities, and
got all this-
someone disagree with that
That's
person, that person
exactly,
get knocked off
that's
now.
exactly. And
Right.
we got some
But if you wanna,
little children who don't mind voicing their opinions, and when they voice their opinions, they can get on their last nerve. And then when the teachers are overworked and underpaid, as you all say, hey, we all snap. Instead of slapping, we be getting guns, shooting.
Well, I think you got things in place there, because it says all the boxes have to be checked. So even if,
If the sheriff doesn't agree.
yeah, the sheriff wouldn't agree, or the superintendent wouldn't agree, then it wouldn't happen. All of them's got to be checked, so.
And I'm not saying, I just feel like we don't need to limit it so much because we do have former law enforcement officers and veterans in the classrooms, and if we're trusting them with our children, why can't we trust them to protect our children? So I don't want to limit and tie our hands or tie the hands of those that are making the decisions to just say we cannot have a classroom teacher under any circumstance.
As long as you can take on the responsibility if the gun goes off or if someone gets the gun, because it'll come back to the board, as long as you can be responsible for that
And I will not be
decision.
individually sued, y'all will be suing the board, but it's just too many gun incidents going off now, and mental capacities, these people, you're just not knowing it. I'll just tell you, one of us can come up here and shoot up all this board now.
Well, we've got two deputies sitting out there
well,
right here.
That's okay. Before they
process
get in there, maybe
is,
done shot you up.
basic process is whoever is a safety person, they will actually individually, and if one person say no to this person, that person is automatic off.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, but I brought this forward to you because we were having conversations. Do we need to agenda this item for a later board meeting to alter this?
Ms. Thompson has asked for it, so I agree, because I need that information from when it was first presented. So I need to go over that information also.
And the new statutes, we need to provide y'all a copy of the new statutes.
I will not have it on the next meeting because I want the legislature to be over when we have the new statute
Yes.
before I bring this back to you.
Right.
And
Thank
so
you.
later on, I will be, so what I'm hearing, that you want to revisit this.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you'll probably have to change it again next year after the legislature, they're gonna change it.
I think
I'm
she
not
said
gonna
after
bring it
they-
until
after
after-
they-
I know, I'm talking about this one, then next year they'll change it again.
Yep.
But that's the statute of, what we have been doing thus far.
Anything else?
I'm through.
Well, it's hard.
Okay. Mr. Reeves? Okay.
Well, that's where the-
Ms. Knight?
Yeah, so I just want to thank you, Mr. White, for coming out and his presentation, and thank you to our parent and student representation that were here today. I do want to report that we, Devin and I, attended the Finance 2.0 training this past week, and, we got some very valuable information out of that. Again, a lot of that is still pending, some of these bills that are sitting to be approved by the House and the Senate. I do want to revisit, I know we've talked about workshops on the finance. Every finance report we're getting, meeting after meeting, you know, we're going to be in trouble if we don't start making some changes. So I'm going to request a workshop again, that we can start looking at potential cuts in the budget for moving forward when these ESSER funds are depleted in September. So,
Okay.
thank you.
I would also like to say thank you to Mr. White and thank you, Jaden. And I'm sorry I didn't catch your mom's name, but thank you so much. It was so heartwarming to hear all of you speak. So often, like you all said, we hear the negative things about the bridge program, and it is wonderful to hear the good that's coming out of there. And also, the teacher, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, but thank you all for being here. Thank you to Ms. Rose for your presentation, and I also would like to start looking at some ways that we can, I hate to say cut, but that's just trim, that's the best way to put it. That is the nicest way to put it. We just have to make sure that we're doing the best we can with the money that we have in order to give the children the best education possible in this county. And so I look forward to having those meetings and making some hard decisions. Thank you all, everybody that works in the district day in and day out, and everything you do for these kids. And like Katie said, we attended the finance forum, and there are a lot of unknowns right now in the state. We went down there and expected to learn a lot, and we did. But a lot of what we learned was that everything changes all the time. And so there's things that you have to stay brushed up on, and I'm constantly looking every day, checking updates in the House and the Senate to see how things are moving along and how that's going to affect us. And so I have my eyes on that, and I'm looking forward to doing the best that we can as a board to make sure everybody's taken care of in the district. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week.
Mr. Carroll?
See, I'm fortunate, I sit by them, then all I get to say is ditto. I appreciate y'all all day.
And the same applies here. Thank you all. They say everything we need to say. But one thing about it, Ms. Joseph, I need to know. I see the other two new board members with their ID badges, and nobody contacted me and told me about an ID badge. I want what they got.
You want to
I
ask
get an ID
Mr.
badge.
Isaac, Mr.
Well, see, I
Goya?
didn't know who to ask, so I'm
Mr.
asking
Goya.
you, Superintendent.
Okay.
You need a picture? You don't take the picture, because I ain't got no picture.
I can take one.
Okay. So when, give me, because you and I need to discuss some other things without my, tablet. That password has expired.
Every 90 days.
So, you need to take a picture, and, you have my number when you get time, not so early in the morning. I would really appreciate it, thank you. Because now, people gonna be asking for these IDs, you know what I'm saying? I thought about that thing, everywhere you go sometimes, and we don't know our teachers don't know us. And then you go to schools, you got new secretaries and all that stuff, and they don't know me and I don't know them. So I need my ID now.
He's got his cell phone with him, he can take a picture on the wall out there.
No ma'am, not today.
Not today.
Listen, we could Photoshop anything.
I put on some
I did
music.
mine twice and I still don't.
Okay, well, I got to play with some makeup.
Yeah, you look good.
They have an app for that.
They got an app for it.
Sure do.
Well, you need to show me.
I got you.
Anything else, Ms. Hagan?
No ma'am, thank you, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, you're fine, we're not in a rush here. I'd like to again thank Mr. White for coming tonight, and I especially like having a student here and his mother. It's so refreshing to hear a success story, and I appreciate what you're doing, and especially connecting the parents to the school. I've always said that's a biggie right there, if we can get the parents on board, so thank you very much. I'd like to actually recognize one of our very own board members tonight, Ms. Vieta Hagan. On Saturday, March 28th, the new Omega chapter of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority held the 2023 Visionary Women's Award ceremony. They were honored for their leadership, inspiration to others, and lasting contribution to the Madison County community. Congratulations, Mrs. Hagan.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. I'd like to also acknowledge Deputy
Katie
Brunson
Kay.
and Deputy Martin, who is with us this evening, but they're out in the outer office there. We appreciate them, and we appreciate their services, what they do each and every day. I was able to attend Farm Day at Madison County High School. It was presented by Miss Kaylee Jenkins, our ag teacher, and she's also the FFA sponsor. I enjoyed it, and it was for all the first graders in the county, and it was lots of work and preparation, and we appreciate what she did. And then you mentioned the sponsorship opportunities. I'd like to mention this in particular. Involves the flags that are around Madison County Courthouse. I just want to let you know the funds that they are able to get from this supply the flags to our schools. So just letting you know that's actually a fundraiser for the American Legion. And I think that's it for tonight. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, I move to adjourn.
Thank you. All in favor?
And actually, it's just a recess because we've got an expulsion here.
Oh, yes, recess. Becky, 5-0.